worried about Doug Martin this year. I'm staying away from him. I just think he's in an offense that's just trying to find their identity, and I don't think that Tampa Bay offense thinks that Doug Martin's the answer. So, I'm worried. I'm concerned if I'm a Doug Martin owner.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think if you are a Doug Martin owner, you better add Charles Sims if you can, because it won't be long before Charles Sims at least is given the shot. I don't know how well he'll perform, but I think if Doug Martin continues to underperform, I think the Bucs just have to give someone a shot, and it could be Charles Sims. So definitely worth a stash on your bench. All right, moving on to your boys. We got the Eagles at the Redskins this week. Of course, the Redskins have had 10 days to think about their loss to the Giants. But they've got two really good running backs, two fantasy-worthy running backs all of a sudden. If you had to own one, actually let's put this a different way. Let's say we were drafting today. Are you drafting Matt Jones or Alfred Morris first?
It's funny you say that, because even as a Skins fan, if you're asking me this before the season started, I already know what the obvious pick's going to be, even though I could have guessed that Matt Jones was going to get a lot of carries, because Gruden loves Matt Jones. I think Matt Jones is doing great. I'm not worried about that fumble in the end zone. He's a rookie. Alfred Morris has his fumbling issues as well. But if you're asking me this question right now, I'm probably going to go Jones, only because I think Jones has that breakaway speed. I love Alfred. I mean, he just trucks over defenders. He's in rhythm and stride. But Matt Jones can hit the corner, and when he does hit the corner, he's gone. I think Matt Jones is more of an impact player when it comes to that. I think that's why we're seeing Alfred not getting a lot of carries as of late. I want to say they were actually sharing possessions, sharing drives last week against the Giants. But this, like I said, I mentioned it earlier about McCoy and with Carlos Williams. This is a committee run NFL we have this generation. So I think Gruden's trying to go for that thunder and lightning that can produce some offense for the Redskins. But I think Jones has the edge on Morris right now, especially with Cousins and his turnover issues. And as a Skins fan, I can only hope that the Redskins stick with the ground attack. But who knows anymore with this offense, which direction they're looking to go to. So I'm going to answer that question with Matt Jones. I'd have to go Matt Jones.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the upside for Matt Jones is definitely more. I think Alfred Morris is on the downtrend. And I believe this is Alfred Morris's last year of his contract, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
Yeah, so I think they want to see what they have in Matt Jones. I think Alfred Morris will be in for a big payday, but I don't know if the Redskins are ready to pay them, especially if they got Matt Jones, so they can keep on a rookie contract. So I think Jones definitely going forward. I think he's the one I want to own. Just speaking on that fumble in the end zone, living in the DC area as me and you do, my Twitter feed blew up about Alfred Morris wouldn't have fumbled that. Alfred Morris wouldn't have fumbled that. My thing is Alfred Morris doesn't make that play. He doesn't even get to the outside. He's just not fast enough.
Absolutely not. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. This kid out of Florida's got breakaway speed, man. He's going to be a stud. I'm not upset that he fumbled. He's a rookie. I'll let that slide. But he's got potential.
Yeah, I agree.
There's expert scouts already comparing him to Marshawn. I don't know if I agree with all that, but he does have that running capability and he's got that strength. So hopefully this goes a long way for him, being a Skins fan.
Yeah, he definitely looks good. All right, so you kind of mentioned your boy Kirk Cousins there. Kind of had some bad turnovers. I think the first interception, I think any quarterback could have made that mistake. I think sometimes they just don't see the safeties breaking on it. But that second interception was just, why did he throw that? That's the thing with Kirk Cousins is why would he throw that? Do you think we see RG3 again this year in a Redskins uniform on the field?
As a Skins fan, I hope not. I can tell you this right now, with all the drama in the locker room and just everything that's been going on with RG3. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, I was one of those RG3 supporters his rookie season when he led us to the playoffs, and I think the kid had amazing potential. He probably still does. I still think he'll succeed somewhere else. But with everything that's going on right now with the whole RG3 drama in DC and every radio station I turn, sports radio in DC, I keep having to listen to, oh, it's Kirk done, it's Kirk done. I can tell you right now, if the Redskins lose to the Eagles this Sunday and Kirk throws one or two interceptions, we are not going to hear the end of it about starting RG3. Now, my personal opinion, we don't start RG3. For one, we let RG3 sit because that's a commitment. Gruden said that he's our third-string quarterback. So if anybody we start, we're going to start Colt. And I've been saying this since before the season started. We already know what Kirk's going to do. He's going to turn the ball over. That's what he does. And I think in the NFL, you can throw for 250, 300 yards all you want, but if your interception's up and you're turning the ball over, you're just putting your team in danger of losing the game, and you're wearing out your defense, having them on the field the whole time. I was an advocate for Colt McCoy. I know Colt McCoy isn't the true answer as a starting starting quarterback, but he's got that veteran. He's got a veteran experience. I think that goes farther than Kirk. And obviously, if the Redskins are starting Kirk, they think he's going to be the answer to our future. But you can't just go ahead and bench your future. So it makes no sense to bench Kirk. If they're going to bench Kirk and start RG3, this whole frenzy is just spinning around in a circle, and we're getting nowhere. I think if Kirk's not the answer, you start McCoy, you ride this season out, and you draft a quarterback in the next draft.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know if we see RG3 again, but the thing that I'm confused about is RG3's contract is guaranteed only for injury. So why even keep him on the roster at this point? If you don't think he's your future, obviously he's not going to get the re-signing contract at the end of the year for the Redskins. The risk is just too high. I mean, Mike Evans got injured, in a walkthrough. He wasn't even playing in a practice, and he got injured. RG3 could get injured in practice, and then they owe him $16 million. I'm confused as to why he's even on the roster. Most teams don't even keep three quarterbacks. They'll stash a quarterback on their practice squad, which RG3 obviously is not eligible for anymore. I don't see why they keep him. I just think that they need to just cut bait and just move on. I mean, he's not even the second string; he's the third string quarterback. But that's just my opinion. I don't think we see him again this year. And as you said, the stations here in DC are all over it. They're 1 minute they're bashing RG3, and the next minute they're calling for him to come back because Kirk Cousins is throwing interceptions. So you need to just end the circus, just end it, and just move on from RG3. All right, looking over at I'm sorry?
I completely agree with you there.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Eagles side of the ball here. Of course, DeMarco Murray last week was a late scratch. It was funny because I actually was reading reports Sunday morning, and they were saying, we're not going to limit DeMarco Murray's workload, and then 2 hours later, they're like, he's not going to play. So I guess they didn't limit his workload, they just didn't give it to him at all. But then Ryan Matthews steps in and has the best rushing performance for an Eagles running back this year by far. I think DeMarco Murray has 11 yards on the season. Ryan Matthews had 25 carries, 108 yards for the Eagles this past weekend. Do we think that Ryan Matthews could actually supplant the leading rusher from last season in this Eagles offense?
The Eagles, they're the one team where you could have the best running back in the league last year, and I know all the Cowboy fans are like, that's because of the offensive line. True, but I still think DeMarco Murray, he has the talent. I, in my opinion, still think he was without a doubt the most skillful running back in the league last year. I think he still is that same running back. But with Philadelphia, this is one team where the system is everything. As a Skins fan, I can tell you this, when Alfred and RG3, had the play action system and everything else, I think this is kind of that same thing, and I think that's what Chip's trying to do. He's implementing this new system. Maybe DeMarco just doesn't fit in this system. Maybe this just isn't meant for him. If that's the case, I'm 100% picking Ryan Matthews. I mean, you got to go with what works, especially if you're an Eagles fan right now. But by no means, when it comes to individual talent and everything else, will I ever think Ryan Matthews is better than DeMarco Murray. But it's Chip Kelly's system, so maybe DeMarco is just not panning out. I don't think Sam Bradford's panning out at all. But if Ryan Matthews is the savior for the Philadelphia Eagles, I can tell you I'm a little bit happy right now as a Skins fan. I would much rather go up against Ryan Matthews than DeMarco Murray any day. So if that's what's working, then that's what's working.
Yeah, I think Chip Kelly has proven that he is not afraid to move on from his, quote-unquote stars. I mean, he shipped Shady McCoy off to Buffalo. He sent Deshaun Jackson packing. He traded Macklin to the Chiefs. I mean, I think if Ryan Matthews happens to have more games like this, DeMarco Murray may be sitting on the bench. I mean, Chip Kelly's a believer in his system. He doesn't care who he has out there as long as they're running the system. So we might see some more of Ryan Matthews. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next game here. This is probably one of the worst games to watch this upcoming weekend. But we got the Raiders at the Bears. So, of course, not expecting Jay Cutler to be there. Alshon Jeffrey still in and out of the lineup. I don't think he's even played a game this year. The Raiders, of course, kind of better than we expected, at least from a fantasy perspective. There are some fantasy relevant players there. Do we look at the Raiders defense as a sneaky play going up against this Chicago offense that couldn't move the ball last week?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way the Bears are playing right now, obviously their offense is little to none, especially with Alshon Jeffrey out. And I'm a Forte fan. I'd like to see him get it done as well. But the Bears are just abysmal. They are awful. So the Raiders might be a good sneaky defensive pick as far as like a GPP goes for daily. But I will say one thing. If we're moving on to a one player who I was very high on last week and did be very well as far as value, that's got to be Derek Carr. I've been telling everyone, Derek Carr is going to have a good season. He proved that last weekend, and if he could do that last weekend going up against this Bears D, I'm high on Derek Carr this season or this weekend as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely big on Derek Carr. I actually added him in a league that I had Ben Roethlisberger, so I now have Derek Carr as my starter, and I'm actually happy with it. I'm glad I was able to pick him up off of waivers. All right, so we're running up a little bit on time here, so we're going to go kind of speed around with the rest of the games here. We're just going to do one note on each team so we can get through these real quick. Looking at the Bear side, you mentioned Forte. Is Forte outside of Forte and Bennett? Is there anyone here worth starting, whether it be daily or season long?
I'd rather start Alshon Jeffrey sitting on the bench than I would anybody else on that team.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Definitely avoiding all Bears. All right, moving on to the next game here. We got the Texans at the Falcons. Of course, the big story here with the Texans is will Arian Foster play this week? And if he does play, are you plugging him in as a starter and just rolling with him, or are you worried about his first game back?
I'm probably not plugging him in this week. Alfred Blue is still going to get most of those carries. I'd have to give it a week. It's too hard to gamble on Foster. I'd have to wait to see what he does one game and then just go from there. I mean, I may throw in like a cheap $2 GPP and start Foster, but if this is like your season long or anything like that, I'm very, very hesitant on starting Foster because I'm worried that he's going to come back into a committee running game until he's actually 100%.
Yeah, see, I'm actually on the opposite side of the fence on that one. I think Arian Foster has shown that he won't come back. I think last year they were saying, he's coming back, and he actually sat out one more week just to make sure he was 100%. And then going into this past week, they were like, Foster could play, and he's like, no, I want one more week. I think when he comes out, I think it's all systems go. I think they hand the ball to him 30 times like they did to Alfred Blue. I think in season long, I think if you wasted a draft pick on him, I think you're definitely going to plug him in. Now, daily, it might be a different thing because I imagine his price is still probably fairly high. I don't know if I would risk it in daily. Maybe just like you said, just throw it into a tournament play and just, kind of hope that he goes out and in this Arian Foster's again. Looking at the Falcons, just two quick things that I wanted to touch on here. We got Devontae Freeman. Are we buying Devontae Freeman? And with Roddy White now blank 2 weeks in a row, is Leonard Hankerson a good pickup for season-long leagues?
Devontae Freeman will probably be in about 80% of my cash games as far as fantasy goes. I'm staying away from Roddy because obviously they're just not using him when you got Julio Jones